Words are not just tools for communication. They are the bricks we use to build our reality. Over the last decade, something remarkable happened. We stopped being ashamed of our mental health. We brought the language of the therapist's office into the light of the town square. This should have been a victory, but instead, it became a corruption. Today, we use terms like trauma, boundaries, gaslighting, and narcissist as if they were common additives. We have turned clinical tools of precision into emotional weapons. We are diagnosing our ex-partners, our bosses, and our friends without a license, and in doing so, we are losing the ability to simply be human with one another. In the next 25 minutes, we are going to look into the mirror. We will explore how therapy speak is creating a wall between us and reality. We will see how, by trying to sound more evolved, we are actually becoming more isolated. This is not an attack on therapy. It is an investigation into how we are using the language of healing to hide our own shadows. To understand where we are, we have to look back. For a long time, human suffering was invisible. If you were sad, you were weak. If you were afraid, you were cowardly. The clinical revolution changed that. It gave names to ghosts. It allowed us to say, this is a condition, not a character flaw. But language has a way of escaping the laboratory. When a word leaves the clinic and enters the internet, it changes. It undergoes what sociologists call concept creep. This is when the definition of a word expands to cover things it was never meant to describe. Trauma used to mean a life-threatening wound to the psyche. Now, it is often used to describe a bad week or an uncomfortable conversation. Gaslighting was a specific, malicious form of psychological manipulation designed to make someone doubt their sanity. Now, it is used whenever someone disagrees with our version of events. When everything is a trauma, nothing is a trauma. When every disagreement is an abuse, we lose the scale to measure real suffering. We have traded the depth of human experience for a checklist of clinical labels. Why is this happening now? Because we no longer learn about ourselves through reflection, we learn through engagement. The platforms we use are not designed for nuance. An algorithm does not want you to understand the complexity of your childhood. It wants you to click. And nothing generates a click like a hidden sign. 5 signs you were raised by a narcissist. 3 behaviors that prove you have unhealed trauma. These videos use what psychologists call the Barnum effect. It's the same trick used by horoscopes. They give you a vague, general statement like you sometimes feel misunderstood. And because it's presented under a clinical title, you believe it's a deep, personal revelation. We are self-diagnosing en masse based on 30-second clips. We are adopting identities based on symptoms we might not even have. We are decorating our personalities with clinical terms because it makes us feel seen. But being seen by an algorithm is not the same as being understood by a human. We are learning the vocabulary of self-help without doing the actual work of self-healing. Let's talk about the most hijacked word in the modern world, boundaries. In a healthy sense, a boundary is a statement of self-respect. It is about what you would do. For example, if I am yelled at, I will leave the room. That is a boundary. It is about your own agency. But therapy speak has turned boundaries into a tool for controlling others. We now use the word to issue ultimatums. My boundary is that you cannot talk to this person, or my boundary is that you must respond to me immediately. This is not a boundary. This is a demand. By wrapping our demands in clinical language, we make them unquestionable. If you challenge someone's boundary, you are framed as an aggressor or a toxic person. We are using the language of safety to create a world of control. We are avoiding the messy, difficult work of negotiation and compromise by simply declaring our preferences as medical necessities. Philosopher Hannah Arendt once spoke about how administrative language could be used to hide moral responsibility. Today, we use therapy speak to do the same. We don't reject a friend, we protect our energy. We don't avoid a difficult talk, we prioritize our mental health. We are sanitizing our cruelty with clinical labels. What is the cost of all this? The cost is fragility. Every time we use clinical language to avoid discomfort, we lose a little bit of our resilience. Resilience is a muscle. It only grows when it is under pressure. By treating every discomfort as a trigger and every difficult person as toxic, we are retreating into a smaller and smaller world. We are becoming a generation that is hyper-aware but hyper-fragile. We know all the words for our pain, but we have lost the strength to endure it. True emotional intelligence is not about having a sophisticated vocabulary. It's about the ability to stay in the room when things get hard. It's about admitting you were wrong without calling it a fawn response. It's about listening to a different opinion without calling it emotional labor. The more we use these words to distance ourselves from others, the lonelier we become. We are performing healing on social media while our real-life relationships are starving for simple, honest, and unclinical connection. So where do we go from here? The answer is to return to a simpler language. Stop saying I'm triggered when you're just angry. Stop saying he's a narcissist when he's just selfish. Stop saying it's a boundary when you're just making a request. The truth is often messier and less elegant than a clinical term. Real life is found in the gaps between the labels. Healing doesn't happen when you find the right word for your wound. Healing happens when you stop using that word as an excuse to stop growing. The clock is ticking. Your life is happening right now in the middle of all this chaos and discomfort. Don't hide from it behind a clinical mask. Be brave enough to be simple. Be brave enough to be responsible. Be brave enough to be human.